In life, there are countless moments when we feel utterly lost, as though we're standing at a crossroads with no map, no guide, and no direction to follow. These moments can feel overwhelming, suffocating even, as we desperately search for someone to show us the way, to hold our hand, or to offer us a reassuring word. This search for companionship is natural. As human beings, we crave connection, guidance, and a sense of security. However, what happens when there's no one there? What happens when you stand alone on that path and no one answers your call for help? Do you stop? Do you turn back? Or do you move forward, even if every step feels uncertain? Buddha taught us a profound truth when he said, "If you cannot find a companion to walk the spiritual path with you, walk alone." No one will accompany someone who is not yet mature. These words carry a powerful message. True growth, especially spiritual growth, cannot be borrowed or handed down. It is a deeply personal journey that requires self-reliance, courage, and the willingness to face challenges on your own. Let us begin by imagining a young bird, about to leave its nest for the very first time. As it perches on the edge, the bird looks down at the vast, intimidating world below. Its wings are untested, and the unknown is terrifying. What if it falls? What if it cannot fly? Finally, one day, she realized that if she didn't take the first step to change her life, no one else would do it for her. She began by waking up early to meditate, reading books that nourished her soul, and journaling her thoughts. Slowly but surely, she rebuilt herself from the ground up. That journey, though lonely, gave her a strength and self-awareness she had never known before. Years later, she became a motivational speaker, inspiring thousands with her story of resilience. In those moments when no one is there to guide or support us, we are forced to confront our own strength, to find a power within ourselves that we might not have known existed. It is in those solitary leaps into the unknown that we discover who we truly are. Buddha's own life is perhaps the greatest example of this principle. No one will accompany someone who is not yet mature. These words carry a powerful message. True growth, especially spiritual growth, cannot be borrowed or handed down. It is a deeply personal journey that requires self-reliance, courage, and the willingness to face challenges on your own. Let us begin by imagining a young bird, about to leave its nest for the very first time. As it perches on the edge, the bird looks down at the vast, intimidating world below. Its wings are untested, and the unknown is terrifying. What if it falls? What if it cannot fly? There were times when he meditated under the Bodhi tree, utterly alone, battling the darkness within his own mind and resisting the temptations that sought to sway him. But it was precisely in that solitude that he found the light of enlightenment. Buddha's journey teaches us that the absence of companionship is not a sign of failure. It is an essential part of the path to maturity. When we stop relying on others to provide answers and start looking within, we awaken our true potential. Let's also look at the life of Eliud Kipchoge, the legendary marathon runner from Kenya. Born in a poor village, Kipchoge had no access to professional trainers or advanced facilities. As a boy, he didn't even have proper running shoes. While others might have waited for help or dismissed their dreams as unattainable, Kipchoge simply ran. Day after day, he ran alone on dusty village roads, guided only by his determination and his vision of what he could achieve. Those solitary runs were not glamorous. They were hard and lonely, yet they forged in him an unbreakable spirit. Years later, that same determination led Kipchoge to achieve what many believed was impossible, running a marathon in under 2 hours. His story reminds us that the path to greatness often begins with solitary steps, taken in faith and resilience, even when no one is there to cheer us on. There's another story, perhaps less famous but equally inspiring. A young woman, after facing a series of personal losses, found herself at rock bottom. Her friends had moved on, her family didn't understand her pain, and she felt entirely alone. For months, she waited for someone to help her, to guide her, or even just to sit beside her in her sadness. But no one came. Finally, one day, she realized that if she didn't take the first step to change her life, no one else would do it for her. She began by waking up early to meditate, reading books that nourished her soul, and journaling her thoughts. Slowly but surely, she rebuilt herself from the ground up. That journey, though lonely, gave her a strength and self-awareness she had never known before. Years later, she became a motivational speaker, inspiring thousands with her story of resilience. Yet Buddha's teaching, if you cannot find a companion to walk the spiritual path with you, walk alone, challenges this instinct, offering a perspective that feels both daunting and empowering. It reminds us that the greatest growth often comes not through the comfort of shared journeys, but through the transformative trials of solitude. Walking alone isn't simply about enduring loneliness. Loneliness is not something to fear, it is something to embrace. It strips away the distractions and excuses, leaving us face to face with the only person who can truly change our lives, ourselves. When no one walks with you, it is not a sign that you are unworthy. It is a sign that the time has come for you to mature, to grow, and to take responsibility for your journey. If you find yourself standing at a crossroads today, unsure of which way to go and with no one there to guide you, don't despair, don't wait, start walking. Each step you take, no matter how small, will lead you closer to the person you are meant to become. Remember, maturity is not given, it is earned. And when you walk alone, you are not truly alone. You are walking with the strength, wisdom, and courage that resides within you. Trust in that, and you will find that the journey itself, even if solitary, is the most profound teacher you will ever have. When we think about walking a solitary path, our minds often fixate on the overwhelming difficulties, the fear of failure, the heavy weight of loneliness, and the uncertainty of stepping into the unknown without reassurance. These thoughts are natural because humans are deeply social beings. We are wired to seek companionship, encouragement, and validation from others. Yet Buddha's teaching, if you cannot find a companion to walk the spiritual path with you, walk alone, challenges this instinct, offering a perspective that feels both daunting and empowering. It reminds us that the greatest growth often comes not through the comfort of shared journeys, but through the transformative trials of solitude. Walking alone isn't simply about enduring loneliness. It is about uncovering a strength and wisdom within ourselves that we may never discover if we rely too much on others. Take a moment to imagine the life of a tree growing in isolation, far away from the shelter of a dense forest. This solitary tree is exposed to the full force of nature's fierce winds, torrential rains, scorching sun, and freezing winters. It has no neighboring trees to provide shade, block the wind, or share the burden of harsh conditions. At first glance, this might seem like a disadvantage. Yet, because of its circumstances, the tree's roots grow deeper into the earth, seeking nourishment and anchoring it firmly in place. Its trunk becomes thicker and sturdier to withstand the wind, and its branches stretch wide to capture every possible ray of sunlight. Trust in that, and you will find that the journey itself, even if solitary, is the most profound teacher you will ever have. When we think about walking a solitary path, our minds often fixate on the overwhelming difficulties, the fear of failure, the heavy weight of loneliness, and the uncertainty of stepping into the unknown without reassurance. These thoughts are natural because humans are deeply social beings. We are wired to seek companionship, encouragement, and validation from others. Walking alone forces us to grow in ways that are impossible when we lean too heavily on the support of others. It compels us to develop the strength and resilience needed to weather life's storms on our own. History is full of individuals whose solitary journeys have shaped the world in profound ways. Consider the story of Marie Curie, a scientist whose groundbreaking discoveries in radioactivity revolutionized physics and chemistry. In her time, women were rarely welcomed into the scientific community, and Curie faced rejection and skepticism at every turn. Many dismissed her not because of her work, but because of her gender. Yet Buddha's teaching, if you cannot find a companion to walk the spiritual path with you, walk alone, challenges this instinct, offering a perspective that feels both daunting and empowering. It reminds us that the greatest growth often comes not through the comfort of shared journeys, but through the transformative trials of solitude. Walking alone isn't simply about enduring loneliness. The lessons of solitude extend beyond science and into every aspect of life. Imagine an entrepreneur with a bold vision, a new invention, a groundbreaking business idea, or a way to change the world. In the early days of their journey, it's common for people to doubt them. Friends may dismiss their dreams as impractical. Family members might encourage them to pursue a safer, more conventional path. In those moments, the entrepreneur stands at a crossroads. They could abandon their vision in favor of the comfort and approval of others, or they could press forward, fueled only by their belief in what they're trying to achieve. Those who choose to continue, even when no one else believes in them, often create something extraordinary. The loneliness they endure teaches them resilience and resourcefulness. They learn to solve problems independently, to push forward in the face of doubt, and to trust their instincts. By the time their vision comes to fruition and others finally recognize their success, they have already been transformed by their journey. Their path, though lonely, has made them stronger, wiser, and more capable. But walking alone is not a concept reserved for the extraordinary or the historically significant. A single parent raising a child without the help of a partner, a young artist dedicating hours to their craft, alone in their studio, hoping to one day create something meaningful, a retiree learning a new skill later in life, starting from scratch without a community of peers to lean on. These are not grand, world-changing acts, but they are profound in their own right. When exam day comes, their efforts pay off not only in the form of good results, but in the habits and confidence they've built along the way. In those quiet, solitary hours, they have laid the foundation for future success. Walking alone isn't easy, and it rarely feels comfortable. It requires courage to face uncertainty without the safety net of companionship. It demands perseverance to keep going when doubts creep in and obstacles seem insurmountable. Yet, paradoxically, it is in those solitary moments that we discover the depths of our own strength. When we walk alone, we are forced to confront the limitations of our own minds, the fears, insecurities, and self-doubts that hold us back. But as we push through these barriers, we uncover a resilience we didn't know we had. We learn to trust ourselves, to take responsibility for our own growth, and to embrace the journey, even when it feels difficult or unclear. Consider the many small ways we experience this in daily life. A single parent raising a child without the help of a partner, a young artist dedicating hours to their craft, alone in their studio, hoping to one day create something meaningful, a retiree learning a new skill later in life, starting from scratch without a community of peers to lean on. These are not grand, world-changing acts, but they are profound in their own right. They reflect the quiet courage it takes to keep moving forward when no one else is walking beside you. In these moments, we are reminded that solitude is not a punishment or a sign of failure. It is an invitation to grow. When we walk alone, we are given the opportunity to shed the distractions of the world, to listen to our own thoughts, and to discover what truly matters to us. Each step, no matter how hesitant or uncertain, moves us closer to becoming the person we are meant to be. It is not the company of others that defines our path. It is our willingness to walk it with integrity and purpose. The journey may be lonely, but it is also sacred, transformative, and deeply rewarding. It is the path of growth, and it is one worth embracing. When we think about the idea of solitude, it's easy to see it as something to avoid, conditioned to escape as quickly as possible. For many, being alone feels synonymous with being isolated, forgotten, or even abandoned. Society often conditions us to think that success, happiness, and fulfillment are things we achieve with the support and validation of others. But what if solitude wasn't a punishment? What if being alone wasn't a sign of failure, but instead, an opportunity? A single parent raising a child without the help of a partner, a young artist dedicating hours to their craft, alone in their studio, hoping to one day create something meaningful. A retiree learning a new skill later in life, starting from scratch without a community of peers to lean on. These are not grand, world-changing acts, but they are profound in their own right. Picture for a moment the vastness of a desert. At first glance, it seems barren, desolate, and empty, a place devoid of life and connection. Yet, for those who venture into the desert, it is often a place of profound transformation. The silence of the sands forces them to confront their innermost thoughts. Without the distractions of the outside world, they begin to hear their own voice more clearly. They notice the beauty in small things, the way the wind shapes the dunes, the resilience of a single flower blooming against all odds. In the same way, when we find ourselves walking alone, we are gifted the chance to explore the vast landscape of our own minds and souls. It is in this quiet space that we come to understand who we truly are, not who others expect us to be or who we pretend to be for acceptance, but the essence of our being. Let us turn to a historical example, the story of Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi's journey to becoming the leader of India's independence movement was not paved with constant companionship or widespread support. In fact, much of his early efforts were marked by loneliness and resistance. When he first began advocating for non-violent resistance, many dismissed his ideas as naive and impractical. Even within his own community, there were those who doubted his methods. Yet Gandhi persisted, often walking a path of solitude, guided by his inner conviction rather than external approval. It was during those solitary moments, hours of fasting, meditation, and reflection, that he developed the clarity and strength needed to inspire a nation. His solitude wasn't a weakness. It was the crucible that shaped his resolve and made him a beacon of hope for millions. His story reminds us that solitude is not about being disconnected. Walking alone is not about rejecting others or isolating ourselves out of fear. It is about choosing to walk with intention and authenticity, even when no one else understands or supports our path. In solitude, we are free from the expectations and judgments of others, allowing us to grow in ways that are uniquely our own. His painting Starry Night, for example, is a masterpiece born not out of connection with others, but out of his deep connection to his own inner world. While many would view his isolation as tragic, it was in that solitude that he found the freedom to express himself without constraint. His work reminds us that being alone doesn't mean being unproductive or unfulfilled. It can be a gateway to boundless creativity and self-expression. But solitude isn't reserved for grand historical figures or creative geniuses. It is a universal experience that holds lessons for all of us. Think about a person training for a marathon. In the early mornings, while the rest of the world sleeps, they lace up their shoes and head out the door. Mile after mile, they run alone, with no one cheering them on, no crowd to motivate them. At first, the silence might feel daunting, the road stretching endlessly ahead. But as they run, they begin to find rhythm in their breath, strength in their legs, and focus in their mind. They realize that the solitude of those early runs is where the real transformation happens, not just in their body, but in their spirit. By the time race day arrives, the crowd's cheers may fuel their final push, but the foundation of their success was built in those quiet, solitary miles. Even in the everyday struggles of life, solitude can be a powerful teacher. Consider a parent raising a child alone. At first, the weight of that responsibility might feel unbearable. Without a partner to share the load, every decision, every sacrifice, every late night falls squarely on their shoulders. Yet, in time, that parent discovers a strength they never knew they had. They learn to balance work, family, and personal growth with grace and determination. They become a role model for their child, showing them what resilience and self-reliance look like. It's not an easy journey, but it is a deeply meaningful one, marked by growth and the forging of an unbreakable bond with their child. Solitude, when embraced rather than resisted, becomes a space of immense power. It is where we strip away the noise and distractions of the world and come face to face with our true selves. It is where we learn to trust our intuition, to find clarity in our goals, and to build the courage to pursue them. Walking alone is not about rejecting others or isolating ourselves out of fear. It is about choosing to walk with intention and authenticity, even when no one else understands or supports our path. In solitude, we are free from the expectations and judgments of others, allowing us to grow in ways that are uniquely our own. If you find yourself in a moment of solitude, don't see it as a void to be filled or a problem to be solved. See it as an invitation to grow. Embrace the quiet, listen to your thoughts, discover the strength that lies within you. Remember that every great journey, whether it's toward enlightenment, creativity, achievement, or personal growth, begins with a single step, and sometimes that step must be taken alone. Solitude is not the absence of connection. It is the deepest form of connection to yourself, your purpose, and your potential. And when you embrace that, you'll find that walking alone isn't a burden. It's a gift, one that leads to profound transformation and enduring strength. The depths of solitude. It's important to recognize that walking alone is not only a transformative experience, but also a necessary one. Life often presents us with moments where external support is unavailable, and it is in these moments that we must become our own guide. Solitude forces us to ask the hard questions. Who am I when no one is watching? What drives me when there's no applause? What do I truly value when the noise of the world fades away? These are questions that cannot be answered in the company of others, because the presence of external influences often drowns out the quiet voice of our inner truth. Consider the journey of a mountain climber ascending a peak. In the early stages of the climb, they might be surrounded by a team, sharing laughter and camaraderie as they make their way through the easier paths. But as the climb becomes steeper, the air thinner, and the conditions harsher, There comes a point where each climber must rely solely on their own strength, skill, and determination. No one else can take those steps for them. It is in those solitary moments when every muscle aches, every breath feels like a battle, and the summit seems impossibly far away, that the climber discovers the depths of their resilience. The view from the top is breathtaking, not just because of the beauty of the landscape, but because it represents a triumph of the spirit. The climb, though lonely, becomes a testament to their ability to persevere. This metaphor of the mountain applies to all areas of life. The greatest achievements, the most profound realizations, often come during the most challenging phases, when we have no choice but to walk alone. Solitude strips away the distractions of the external world and forces us to confront the raw reality of our circumstances. It's in these moments that we learn to differentiate between what truly matters and what is merely superficial. When there's no one else to rely on, we are left with the stark truth. We are enough. We are capable. We are stronger than we think. Think of the process of a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly. The caterpillar doesn't transform in the presence of others. It retreats into its cocoon, a space of complete solitude and stillness. In this quiet sanctuary, it undergoes one of nature's most remarkable metamorphoses. What emerges from the cocoon is something entirely different, a creature of grace and beauty, capable of soaring through the skies. If the caterpillar resisted solitude or sought constant companionship, this transformation would never occur. The cocoon, though confining and isolating, is what makes flight possible. On a more personal level, we all face our own cocoon moments in life. These are the times when we must withdraw, reflect, and rebuild. Perhaps it's after a significant loss, losing a loved one, a job, or a relationship. In the aftermath, it's tempting to seek distractions, to fill the void with noise and activity. But true healing and growth often come from sitting with the pain, understanding it, and finding a way to move forward on our own. Solitude in these moments is not a punishment. It's an invitation to transform, to emerge stronger and wiser, just as the butterfly does. The path of solitude also fosters creativity and innovation. Many of the world's greatest breakthroughs have come from individuals who dared to walk alone. Nikola Tesla, for example, spent much of his life in isolation, driven by his passion for invention and discovery. While his solitude was often misunderstood, it was in these quiet moments that he conceptualized ideas far ahead of his time, ideas that continue to shape our modern world. Similarly, authors, composers, and artists often retreat into solitude to create works that resonate with the human spirit. The act of creating something truly original often requires stepping away from the crowd and immersing oneself in the depths of one's imagination. Even in spiritual growth, solitude plays a crucial role. Many spiritual traditions emphasize the importance of retreat, silence, and reflection as paths to enlightenment. Buddha himself spent years in solitude before achieving enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. In those years, he faced not only physical challenges but also the inner battles of doubt, fear, and temptation. It was in the quiet of his solitary meditation that he found the clarity and insight that would guide him and countless others toward a deeper understanding of life. But walking alone is not just about achievement or transformation. It's also about finding peace. In the stillness of solitude, we learn to be present with ourselves, to appreciate the simple beauty of existence. A walk through a quiet forest, the sound of leaves rustling in the wind, the sight of sunlight filtering through the trees. These moments remind us that life's richness is not dependent on constant activity or interaction. Solitude allows us to reconnect with the world in its purest form, to feel a sense of belonging that doesn't rely on external validation. It's important to acknowledge that solitude is not always easy. There will be moments of doubt, when the path ahead feels unclear, and the weight of walking alone feels too heavy to bear. But it is in these moments that we grow the most. Each step forward, no matter how small, builds confidence and resilience. And as we continue, we realize that the loneliness we once feared has been replaced by a profound sense of inner strength and self-assurance. Walking alone doesn't mean being isolated. It means being deeply connected to your own truth. So, as you navigate your own journey, don't fear the moments of solitude. Embrace them. See them not as empty spaces, but as opportunities to grow, to reflect, and to transform. Remember, the path of solitude is not a detour. It is an essential part of the journey. It is where we discover the courage to face ourselves, the strength to overcome challenges, and the wisdom to walk forward with purpose. And when you emerge from that path, you will not only be stronger, you will be unshakable, ready to face whatever lies ahead. Solitude is not the absence of connection. It is the gateway to discovering the deepest, most enduring connection of all, the connection to yourself. As the journey through solitude unfolds, something profound begins to happen. The very struggles that seemed insurmountable at first become stepping stones to growth. The fear of being alone transforms into a sense of independence. The doubts that once plagued your mind are replaced by clarity and confidence. Solitude, once viewed as a void, becomes a sanctuary, a space where you can hear your inner voice without distraction, where your thoughts are not influenced by the expectations or judgments of others. It becomes a mirror, reflecting your truest self and revealing strengths you didn't know you possessed. Take the example of a musician learning to master their instrument. In the beginning, the hours spent practicing alone can feel monotonous and discouraging. Without an audience, without applause, the process might seem futile. Yet it's in those solitary hours that the musician hones their craft, exploring every note, every nuance, every imperfection. Over time, they transform those isolated practices into a symphony of skill and expression. When they finally perform for an audience, the beauty of their music is not just a result of talent, but of the quiet perseverance cultivated in solitude. In this way, solitude isn't a limitation, it's the foundation for mastery. Even in relationships, solitude has a powerful role to play. It teaches us the importance of being whole within ourselves before seeking connection with others. There will be moments of doubt, when the path ahead feels unclear and the weight of walking alone feels too heavy to bear. But it is in these moments that we grow the most. Each step forward, no matter how small, builds confidence and resilience. And as we continue, we realize that the loneliness we once feared has been replaced by a profound sense of inner strength and self-assurance. Walking alone doesn't mean being isolated, it means being deeply connected to your own truth. So, as you navigate your own journey, don't fear the moments of solitude. The beauty of solitude is that it's not static. It evolves as we evolve. What starts as a journey of self-discovery becomes a journey of self-expression. The quiet moments we spend alone are not about retreating from the world, but preparing to engage with it more fully. Solitude gives us the strength to face challenges, the wisdom to make thoughtful decisions, and the courage to stay true to our path, even when it diverges from what others expect of us. And so, as we conclude this exploration, let us revisit Buddha's timeless teaching. If you cannot find a companion to walk the spiritual path with you, walk alone. These words are not a lament, they are an invitation. They remind us that walking alone is not a sign of weakness, but a testament to our strength. It is a chance to grow, to heal, to reflect, and to transform. Solitude, when embraced with an open heart, becomes the most powerful teacher, the most loyal companion. The beauty of solitude is that it's not static, it evolves as we evolve. What starts as a journey of self-discovery becomes a journey of self-expression. The quiet moments we spend alone are not about retreating from the world, but preparing to engage with it more fully. Solitude gives us the strength to face challenges, the wisdom to make thoughtful decisions, and the courage to stay true to our path, even when it diverges from what others expect of us. And so, as we conclude this exploration, let us revisit Buddha's timeless teaching. If you cannot find a companion to walk the spiritual path with you, walk alone.